This is an introduction to DealManager by NorthBound Solutions. Today I'm going to show you how to create a new deal and how to create a pool of assets that comply with terms and conditions that you defined through the DealManager user interface. So the first thing we'll do is we'll create a new deal. Say we're modeling a new transaction. We're going to have a new transaction. We'll call it new deal 2011-4. And say it's 100 million. The deal amount and the collateral amount are the same. So we're going to create a new deal. And that new deal is shows in our deal list. Now the first thing we're going to do is apply some criteria that define the that express the requirements for the deal. Now criteria are based on the underlying assets that we store in the database from the underlying systems. So we've created a list of generic or global expressions that we can apply to any deal. So the sum that we'll use for this one, we'll say it must have an active status. So in our database we have a field called asset status, and we say it must be equal to 3. The other thing we're going to use, say it's a book value. So it's got to be a book value of greater than $20,000. So these are both in the scenario data points that are coming from our database. So we're going to go and select eligibility criteria, which means that all assets that go into this pool for this deal must comply with these criteria. So book value must be greater than $20,000 and the active status is 3. So we select these. Now we have our two criteria. We're going to have another type of criteria called, let's see, no more than 15% of new assets. And this will be based on the securitized balance. So we had another eligibility criteria called newly in service, and we'll say that has to be less than 15%. We'll have that less than or equal to 15%. We'll save that as well. So that's saying of the total resulting pool, no more than 15% can be new assets, and we'll go back and see what that is. Newly in service is months in service less than 5%, or less than 5 months, and I can modify this if I'd like. So now we've defined two criteria, two eligibility criteria, one standard concentration criteria. Now what we'll do is we'll generate a pool. So generating a pool is going through the available assets that are in our database, stored from your underlying transaction systems, and available are those that are not sold to any other securitization transaction. So the algorithm is mining the database and applying the criteria that we've defined for that specific deal, and it's coming back and it says we have a pool of $86 million that comply with the rules that we've required. And there's multiple passes through, and the algorithm retains the most optimal and returns that. And we have an indicator here showing that we are in compliance with that. And that's how you create a deal and a pool using DealManager.